Hello, and welcome to another video for the Grants Management System. This video will show you how to do the request for reimbursements on a monthly basis in the Grants Management System. There's quite a bit of changes from the old Excel workbook to the GMS, so there's going to be a lot of communication about this, but it is very exciting. Definitely hope this is going to be a more efficient process for everybody. So before I dive into the actual how-tos, I want to draw everyone's attention to the RFR instruction sheet. So this sheet is available under the resources where you found this video, and this will walk you through on how to, um, and will also have a lot of the common issues that may come up. So I also just kind of wanted to quickly walk through from an overview standpoint of what the steps are. It's pretty straightforward. So obviously the first step is to create an RFR. I'll show you how to do that. One thing I wanted to call out that is a pretty big change is if a budget revision is open for a subgrant, you cannot submit an RFR. So if you have a amendment pending for a contract award increase or decrease, or you're just doing a budget revision because you need to do a budget revision, you can't create an RFR until that process is finalized. And vice versa, if you have an RFR open, you can't submit or create a budget revision. So that's the first step, is creating an RFR. After that, you're going to add your salary and fringe expenses, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Then you'll be adding your other expenses, so your volunteers, your direct operating expenses, all of that. Finally, you'll submit the RFR for approval. So I'll show you how to check all of the important figures that you need to check. You'll be entering the month of expense, so that's a new item as well. So we're no longer allowing a center to submit multiple months of an RFR with one submission. So each RFR needs to be for the 1 month. And then finally, you'll click Save and you'll submit for approval. And like everything else in the GMS, once everything is submitted for approval, there will be a certification that's sent to your authorized official, so usually your executive director or a board member, and that will be via DocuSign. And so that will have them go ahead and e-sign that, and then that will trigger the review by a CIC Texas Grants Manager, who will then review it, and if there's anything that needs to be revised, you'll then be able to do that because the RFR will be returned. The other thing to note is that there are no more adjustment notifications. So typically with the former Excel process, if a center had a minor revision, CIC Texas could mark down the revision, could mark down an expense and just revise the RFR on our side. That's actually not something we'll be able to do in the GMS. So any type of error or change is going to require a RFR to be returned, and then it will then be have to be recertified by an authorized official. Okay, so now that we've gone over this document, some high-level stuff, I want to walk you through how to do an RFR. So I'm going to put this in full screen. So I'm in a test account right now for the GMS, so lots of stuff in here. But this is the standard homepage, lots of the usual stuff, how-to videos, technical assistance resources, grant regulation resources. So to start an RFR, I got to go to a few places. So first I want to do subgrants. Now, if you haven't viewed your subgrant in a while, you may not see it right away because it doesn't appear here. So what we want to do is click this down arrow and be sure that we've clicked all. And so I can make sure that I'm at the right grant. So I want to go ahead and do, let's pick this grant. So I've picked my grant that I want to do an RFR for. Now it's given me a lot of information here. This is the standard information related to my grant. So to get an RFR, I want to go to this related list section. and then budgets. Now you can see I've got a lot of different stuff here in budgets. I want to always be sure that I'm clicking the active budget to submit my RFR. And I know it's active because there's this check mark here. And you'll notice down below we have your previous budgets and budget revisions that you have submitted. So these are not where you want to bill your RFR. You always want to bill your RFR from the active budget. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and step into this budget. And then this is where I submitted my initial budget. This is where I have all of my budget line items. This will load up here in a second. So you can see I've got all of my budget line items here, which is great. So now I want to click over here. So in this top bar, there's this follow, edit, add personnel, add volunteers. These are buttons for when I'm submitting the budget. Or doing a budget revision. I want to click this down arrow, and you can see submit for approval, which doesn't do anything right now, but I've got a create revision button and I've got a create RFR button. So I'm going to go ahead and do create RFR. So first error, it says there is an open RFR. You cannot have more than one reimbursement open at a time. Okay, great. So to get back to a previous RFR, first I want to go back to my subgrant and then related lists. And then now you see if I scroll under the budget is my list of RFRs. So I've done one RFR previously, and now I'm doing a second RFR. So let's go ahead and step into this RFR. All right, so this has some basic information about my RFR. So first I want to do RFR line items. So that's going to be the first big one. Okay, so my grid is loaded up, and I want to point out, I haven't said this yet, so we're working in a VOCA grant to do the test RFR to show you all. However, the same applies to the HHSC grant, with the primary difference being that there is not a match, obviously. So it's the same process, and I'll show you in a sec. We're going to work in 3 different columns. However, that is not a that won't apply to HHSC. Okay, so I've clicked my RFR line items button and I want to start adding some expenses. So first I'm going to click this edit button. And that's opened up my grant. So I'm just going to throw in some very basic expenses. So I want to do $100 here, $100 here. I'm not going to bill any time for the forensic interviewer. And then let's say I'm also going to do $100 for cash match, $100 for cash match here. We'll do some fringe expenses, fringe expenses. Okay, now I'm going to hit save. So I got my first error. So this is the same as in the budgeting. So in this requested amount, every cell needs to have some sort of value. And that value can be 0, but none of these cells can be blank. So I fixed that. Now I'm going to hit save. So we've got a couple things. It's letting me know that the cash match portion or the gross amount is lower than what I'm reporting and billing. So that's because I haven't entered a gross amount. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's put some funds here. This is just basic test data, of course. So again, we're going to do this guy. And let's also do this. Okay, so the next error, you cannot report cash match on a line item that has no budgeted cash match. So this is a change from our current practices. So we'll no longer be allowing to do on a line item. If there is not a budget, you can't bill to that line item. So that's a change. This requires a budget revision. I'm not going to do the budget revision right now. I'm just going to take that out. So we'll hit save again. And so it says save successful. So then one thing I also want to point out too that you'll notice that's an error that the GMS doesn't catch. You'll notice that the percentage of effort here of 25% is lower than the percentage for fringe, which is at 50%. This is something that centers will have to monitor for in-house. This is not something that the GMS will be able to tell you that there's an error. So I want to go ahead and fix that on my own. Go ahead and save. Okay, so from there, since we're on VOCA, this wouldn't apply to HHSC, but we do want to add some volunteers. So we'll go ahead and do that. So sometimes I got to scroll down this way, but you'll see that it's a different column for volunteers, so we'll do that. Now there is not a gross amount for volunteers anymore. So we're just entering in the total value of volunteer time. So let's say I got $100 in volunteer time this month. So we'll add that there. Then we'll hit save. Okay, and then from the rest is pretty straightforward. You'll notice the big difference in that before in the Excel format, you would itemize each expense or groups of expenses, and that's no longer the case. So now we have a single line item for all of your expenses. So let's see here. Let's add a little bit of training. Let's add $100 of training. Hit save. So I got an error, leave gross amount for time period empty unless personnel or fringe. So for non-personnel and fringe expenses, this column needs to be blank for gross amount. We're going to go ahead and take that out, hit save. Okay, so now I've got my travel expenses. I've got some equipment in here. Let's see, so let's do $400 in equipment. And then let's also add some other expenses, $100 in utilities, and we're going to hit save. I can also, all right, so from there I've entered in some expenses. If I refresh the grid, this top bar will show me amount requested sum, which is $950. Also show me what my reported cash match is. And then if I scroll down a little bit, it'll show me my reported in-kind match. This information is also available in this edit button. But for now, I have done my RFR. So I'm going to go ahead and submit for approval. Hit submit. And then I get no approval process was found. So like other items in the GMS, we need to hit this edit button first. So when you log in for the first time, it'll actually say none in this month of expense, but I want to go ahead and do that. So I want to do September, and then we're going to do the year of expense. So if this is a single year grant like HHSC, this will always be 1. However, if it's like VOCA where there's a 2-year grant, what you want to do is for the first 12 months, you're in the first year, the second 12 months, you're in the second year. So let's act as though we're in the second month. And then you'll see that I have a valid request total. So this is true if the requested amount is equal or greater than the current grant balance total. Perfect. And then I still need to click this RFR complete button. You'll see down here in the totals that there is a grant budget total, what my current balance is, how much I'm requesting on this RFR, and what my new balance will be. And this is the same with the reported cash match total, what my cash match balance is, and same with in-kind. And this is also information that you'll get on the certification. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And now I'm going to submit for approval. And I'm done. I've submitted for approval. One more thing I wanted to bring to your attention is where you can see past RFRs. So I want to navigate back to the subgrant that I'm on, which I got from this top menu. This is the grant that I was working on. So once an RFR is approved, you can see I've got a submitted RFR, that's what I just did, and I have a director approved RFR. Director approved means that it's completely finalized by CAC Texas, and it's gone through our internal controls for that. So I want to step into this RFR so you can see some things. So this shows me the grants manager, this shows me where it's at and how much I've requested. And then if I go into related lists and I scroll down to the notes and attachments, this is where the certification will live. So you can see there's some high-level data here, and then this will show you a lot of what you are used to getting on the Excel format. And then there's some summary information there too, including some spend down information. It'll show you how much we've reported, all of that great stuff. Also, this notes and attachments area, if your center is on documentation for RFRs, this is where you would submit that. So you would go ahead and do upload files, and then you would select some files. So parking at a conference, open, and then you would go ahead and attach it there. All right, so those are the RFR instructions. If you have any questions about submitting your RFRs or what these changes mean for your center, definitely encourage you to reach out to your CAC Texas Grants Manager. You can locate the Grants Manager by looking on any of the objects in your grant, whether it's a subgrant, an RFR, a budget revision, or the budget. And you can look on the header page, and the Grants Manager is going to be located at this top section here. And then also encourage you to look at this video again. It's a lot of information that lives in this video, and a lot of information that lives in this document too. So definitely take a look as we move through this new process of how to do RFRs. Definitely think this will be worth your time. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.